Most men stay stuck when they approach a woman for the first time. They try to say something smart and then freeze like a statue. In this video, we will see how you can bypass rejection and almost guarantee you sleep with her, or at least find a way to speak to the hidden part of her mind. Welcome. Here you are going to go through 5 main steps during this video, and we are going to lead you through approaching up to leading her into your apartment, or at least guiding her into a more private place. How do you do all of that? You are going to see step by step which kind of phrases can you use, how can you speak her language instead of staying stuck into your own head, and everything you have to know about it. And before we begin, if you already want to cut to the chase and right away figure out the best language patterns you can use to hypnotically seduce her in the best way possible, you have 5 of the best ones down below. You can download right away, and they will help you figuring out everything else we are going to discuss during this video. The first main phase, therefore, as you may expect, is approaching, because without actual conversation with her, you are not going to go really far. But the first problem we have here when approaching, when the face you make when you approach and you are scared of what to say or not knowing what to say, the main problem here is more your state. In which state, emotional state, do you find yourself in at the moment of approaching or just before approaching? Because you see, in most guys' heads, there are a lot of negative voices. Negative voices telling them, she's not gonna like you, she doesn't like somebody like you, you're not tall enough, you don't have enough money. People get criticized, men always hear those negative voices inside their head, criticizing them even before they approach. And because they hear those negative voices programming, emphasizing inside their mind that she won't like them, they don't make a move and they just freeze. Or they may even just hear sounds like just before approaching because they think she's gonna reject them. Most of that, you have to understand, comes from your previous programming. This is like lines of codes that have been planted into your head from an early age, and many of them reflect maybe who you have been in the past, but when you want to acquire new results in dating, you also have to update most of what has been sown into your unconscious mind back in the day. So whether you had a bad experience and somebody rejected you, or you have heard on social media that now girls only look for 6 feet tall millionaires, whatever has been sown into your unconscious mind is kind of propelling all those negative voices, preventing you from just trying. So the first main step here, to give you some guidance, is to change the voices inside your head. When you are going to approach, notice the kind of language lying into your head, and notice the tone of the voices inside, the tonality of those voices inside your head. Next, ask yourself, if you were that guy, if you were the 6 feet tall millionaire who's hitting the gym every day, if you were already that guy, how would you talk to yourself? And speak to yourself with the same kind of vocal tonality, maybe a grounded, more assertive tonality as you approach, enumerating what you are going to make her experience. Oh, she's going to like me for approaching. Oh, interesting, she's wearing that outfit. I'm wondering what else is interesting about her. Those kinds of phrases will propel you into action more easily. They will condition your state. Remember, the state is more important than the words you say when approaching. They will condition your state to be more assertive and more attractive when you are about to approach. And ultimately, the rule of thumb I had when I started was to not count the first approach. Basically, the first one is a crash test, okay? The first approach of the day does not count. And I was going even further than this. I was saying that the first 3 approaches of the day do not count anyway. Because if I put pressure on my mind just for the first one I talk to, when I am obviously not in state because I haven't warmed up my conversational skills yet, then obviously I'm going to be disappointed and discouraged for the rest of the day. So the first, let's even say, the first 3 approaches of the day do not count. Or if you enter a bar, the first 3 approaches of the day, of the night, are just a crash test to warm up, to wake up your state. Once you are in the right state, then we can proceed into the rest of the conversation. Which is is eventually where most guys get stuck, I think at least, creating interest. So you have successfully approached, you have successfully made a first contact, or maybe something funny happened in the bar and you made a comment about this, so now she's laughing and you're laughing. And then that's where usually guys get like and they don't really know how to build up from there. The first thing you have to understand here is most guys just remain passive in the beginning. They wait and wait and wait for her to initiate the conversation, or they wait for her to give you everything, to give them everything about her life. That won't happen because you need an active dominant state in the beginning to lead her into the conversation. She's with her friends or she's doing something else during the day. She might not even know who you are. Actually, of course, she doesn't know who you are, and she might not even be interested yet because she doesn't know you yet, obviously. So you have to lead her state to get more attentive and more attracted to your conversation in the beginning. One very easy way of doing this is to build up on every word she says. Whenever the guys like you maybe say, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to initiate conversation, actually yes, you do know, because every possible word used in any sentence she's making is obviously something you can use to lead into a different conversation or to lead into a new conversation. Example, she tells you, yeah, I do horse riding, or I play golf on my free time, or I like reading books. Any of them can initiate a new conversation. Books. What kind of books? What kind of books do you read? Oh, I play golf on my free time. Golf, great. So what's your average score? What is your average batting average, for example? I'm not sure of the term, but you get the point. Horse riding. Oh, great. When did you start? How old were you when you jumped on a horse the first time? Any word used in a sentence can lead into a new conversation very easily. You just have to use the words she's using as a hook to lead into the next part of the conversation. And ultimately, what worked the best for me was to presuppose, kind of more hypnotic here, I know, to presuppose I have authority over who she is. Not in a narcissistic way or authoritarian way or fatherly way, like, oh, you should do this because you're a girl, I'm a guy. None of that. All I say is, I know things about you, or I might know things, I suggest I might know things about her that she may not know about herself. Examples, if she is wearing any kind of particular outfit that kind of stands out because there's a lot of colors on it, I might say, very interesting, do you know what your outfit actually means? And then I pause and I let her ponder. I'm like, yeah, well, no, what? It's just the way I dress. Like, what's the matter with it? Or if it is in a social setting and she has any kind of colored drink, let's say she has some orange drink or some orange juice cocktail or whatever she has into her hands, I might say, oh, you should not drink this. Do you know what it means to drink such things? Or like, do you know what it means to hold a drink the way you hold a drink? And I might drift that into body language studies, the way she's behaving, anything where I presuppose I know things about her. I know things about who she is that she may not know herself. Obviously, it is going to be easier if you read at least or listen to some podcast about female psychology. I was studying psychology in college, so obviously this is easy for me, but you can really do that with any kind of podcast online, any kind of content creator who's a woman talking about female psychology online. You can learn a lot about what their body language means, what their behaviors, what their language means, any kind of easy topic of conversation you might lead her into by telling her, presupposing that you know things about her she might not know herself. That is establishing me or you as an authority over her. I'm not saying to overdo it, I'm just saying as a joke. In the beginning, it has to stay playful, it has to stay within the context of a joke. Like, oh, you should not drink this. And obviously I am overacting, so we know intuitively it is a joke. I don't mean that seriously, but then I might say, no, because the three last people who died in a car crash after drinking too much were drinking exactly this. That might be too dark, just what comes out of my mind right now, because I read something about this lately. But what happens right now? I just read about this lately, and I am using what I read about lately. Study women's psychology, read about their psychology, and you can very easily use what you learned to make comments about the way she's dressed, the way she behaves, the way she talks, and that will lead her into maybe considering the fact you know things about her she doesn't know herself. That's how you create interest and intrigue into the conversation. Then we get into what I like the most, which is building comfort, or like the connection, emotional connection phase. Funny enough, I noticed when I learned pickup and dating skills, most guys around me, this is what they had the most trouble with. In the beginning, everyone is struggling with approaching anyway, but then once we get past approaching, I saw so many guys who could not act emotional or be vulnerable and just wanted to get to sex right away, which obviously does not work. She's pushing them away because they didn't have enough emotional connection, enough emotional comfort around them. And the main way I liked to do this was by asking her questions, always leading with questions. In the beginning, you might just make funny comments and presupposing you know everything. Once you get into the comfort building phase, you want to create a real connection. You have a longer conversation here, maybe over dinner, maybe over maybe during a date or anywhere in the street, but you have here a longer conversation. This is where you want to ask her questions that lead you to figure out more of who she is, and eventually even help her figuring out more of who she is from the inside. That may be the more advanced stuff. I'm not telling you to do this right now. In the beginning, simply ask questions about what happened in her life, in her past. Very easy topic. You don't have to unveil any kind of childhood trauma. You don't have to do this. Simply ask her, in your past, for example, what have been great experiences you remember? If you could live again, if you could experience again the best day of your life, which day would you pick? Or if you had the option of 3 different days, 3 days in your life, Debbie, that have been great, which one do you think you would live again, experience again? Something with your family, something with an ex-boyfriend eventually, something with just your friends, something at school, whatever. What would be the best day of your life you would like to live again? That's how I can lead with her past. Then I can lead to the future. What kind of aspirations do you have for the future? What kind of life desires do you have? If you could be anywhere tomorrow in the world, where would you choose to be? In Japan, in New York, in Africa? Where would you go? And if none of those two are enough, I can simply ask about her passions. What is she in the present moment, in her present life, passionate about? She might be passionate about sports, she might be passionate about reading, about psychology, about anything. I would strongly encourage you to investigate your own passion first, your own passions first, because if you really know what you are passionate about, it becomes easier to develop that screening process to only let enter into your life girls who match what you really love talking about, without which that kind of connection will always be fake, because you will fake it, but it won't lead to any kind of fulfilling relationship down the road. And then the reason I said most guys were stuck here is because once you have done this, then you have to lead with, you have to complete with your own experiences. When you want a serious love connection, the kind of serious connection with a girl, you have to share your own experiences in turn. And whenever you can find something she has lived or is living right now that you are living too or have lived equally in the past or anything similar, that's when you are creating a way deeper connection, the kind of connection that will erase any kind of last-minute resistance when you get to the end. If you have a serious connection, all of that is just a continuity of what's happening during that phase. So if that phase is going really really well, then everything else, steps 4 and 5, happen very smoothly. If you fuck up this phase, then everything else later is going to be a nightmare of resistance from her. So please do that carefully. When she reveals the stuff about her, be compassionate and share your own stories, and that's how you create a great connection. And the last little thing, if she talks too much, because I know some guys have experienced this in the past, they want to lead a conversation to a more intimate place or a more intimate subject or topic, and she talks and talks and talks and doesn't catch her breath at all. How do you deal with this? Simply by interrupting her state. By interrupting using pattern interrupt, and I have a few videos and courses about this. If you interrupt her state at that moment, you can catch her and lead her away from that state. You have to understand many times when they talk too much like this, it is because they are just nervous and they are wondering if you actually like them or not. And because of that nervousness, they hide themselves behind a wall of words to avoid you seeing what they feel. But you can still see what they feel, but they try to hide it away from you. So the way I interrupt is by using the 3-step open loop. I won't describe in depth what it is here, but basically I just say, you know, it's very interesting. There are 3 things I learned about this topic. And then I let her pause. I let her process the intrigue of me going to the 3rd step. Because the human brain is made like this. Any kind of human brain needs to figure out consciously what's going on. If something right now jumps out of your screen, you would be shocked and you would need to pause until you figure out what's going on. When I say that there are 3 things I'm going to tell you that may change your perspective on anything, then you are going to wait until I reveal the 3rd one before you start speaking again. So I would just say, for example, there are 3 things I learned about women like you. Do you want to know what it is? And then it will immediately get her out of her endless talking trance and get her more focused on what I say. Then from that state, even if I don't finish up to the 3rd one, we don't care. The point is that by now I have gotten her attention back. It is kind of a playful ping pong to play with her. Then our next sticking point is going to be the sexual tension. Step number 4. Get on your notebook, sexual tension. And I guess it is a pretty strong sticking point because sexuality has been portrayed as something negative. If a man is displaying too easily what he wants, then he's just a player, he's just a douchebag, he just wants sex, which is bad, so I should disqualify him immediately. That's again, one of these shitty programming stuck into guys' heads all the time. That I should not display myself sexually too fast, otherwise she will reject me. That is true and not true at the same time, because if you display too fast verbally what you want, that may cause resistance. But if you only display that in a fully non-verbal way, she might absorb the state, again, emotional state you are into, because human beings mostly communicate through the states they are in when they are in front of each other. So she might get more absorbed by your state, even if you talk about anything that doesn't have threat to sexuality, to intimacy, or any of those topics. The main way you measure where she is by slowing down. You slow down when you want to increase the tension, the sexual tension. You slow down, you stop rushing, you stop being so nervous and so excited about everything. You slow down, you induce pauses, and when you induce pauses, you look into her eyes. Eye contact. The biggest increase of sexual tension will always be eye contact, and silent eye contact. There is nothing that builds up the tension more than silent eye contact. There is nothing that builds up the tension more than silent eye contact with her. So you are going to want to increase eye contact to increase the propensity of initiating touching. You want to touch her, without which nothing will happen intimately, without which nothing will happen between the two of you physically. How do you increase a touch? By, again, slowing. How do you initiate touch? By first slowing down, inducing a pause, and then you measure in which emotional state she gets by you doing this. If when you do this, she's getting very, very nervous, her eyes are looking away, and she tries to not really like look away or tries to rapidly catch the conversation because she's really not at ease with silence, that means no. That means she's not yet in the state where she's ready to be kissed or anything more intimate. In that case, you know you're not yet in sexual tension, you are still in comfort building, and she needs more comfort from you before getting into the phase where she can let go sexually more easily. In any type of situation, unless there are drugs involved and maybe it is a festival, outside of that context, every time sex happens in a consent and mature way, it will happen because she slows down and you slow down, and the atmosphere becomes more electric because there is less words being said and more nonverbal behavior between the two of you. When there is too much talking, it is less likely, not impossible, but less likely that anything intimate happens. If when you talk, on the reverse, if when you talk, she's not saying anything and just gazing at you like this, and you see those eyes really just gazing at you like this, like, okay, you know she's in trance anyway, you know she's ready to be kissed or at least touched more intimately. If when you talk, she's like, yeah, and very nervous, that means no. So you only approach and lean in for the kiss when you notice more silence from her. You notice she's getting silent when you make a pause, she doesn't try to catch the conversation, she's at ease with silence, and I would even go further. If you can have a 5 seconds, even just a 3 or 4 seconds blank without her saying anything, but gazing at you with a smile and you gaze at her with a smile, that means the rest of the night is sealed anyway. That's easy. Which is therefore how we naturally lead into the 5th step, the last step, getting into the apartment or getting into any kind of more private place. Guys always make such a big deal out of this last step, the final big move, whereas when you have done the other steps properly and correctly, this one is probably the easiest of them all, simply because this phase is a natural continuation. It is a natural continuation of everything else that happens before that. So if you have let her state properly, if you have built curiosity, then you let her into experiencing more emotional connection with you, and you talked more about who she is as a person, what she loves the most, what her past experiences have been, etc. Then everything is easy there. It is just a natural continuation of the emotions she has experienced during the rest of the conversation or the rest of that experience. If she has felt comfortable and open with you the rest of the conversation, that is going to be easy, whereas if she has felt any kind of resistance during those early phases, she will find every possible bullshit excuse to not follow you in your apartment later. If she feels comfortable though, it's fine. And just to make sure you can bypass those eventual objections that she might have, like, oh yeah, I have to wake up tomorrow, whatever, you always verbalize those constraints, those time constraints, or those constraints in itself before she does. So before inviting her anywhere for the night, you always imply, oh, I only have 2 hours left. For example, we can go by my apartment, but I only have 2 hours left because I have to wake up tomorrow. And whether that is true or not, you mentioning this before she has the opportunity to verbalize anything as a sign of resistance will dramatically decrease the propensity of her mentioning that resistance. If she already knows it is going to be only 2 hours anyway, then she might follow you much more easily. Whereas if you presuppose that, okay, now it is the big move, I have to invite you to my place, and what if we sleep together? If you put so much pressure on it, obviously she's gonna say no, I don't know you enough, whatever. But when her emotions have been built up properly during the rest of the night and you do not mention verbally that you and her must sleep together, then she might follow you and let her be guided by the moment anyway. And the other type of time constraint I have used a lot for sure is double binds. So any kind of double choices leading to the same exact result. So, are you more a whiskey person or more a cocktail person? Just presupposing we are going to have one last drink at my place, and I am asking you whether you prefer whiskey or cocktail. For a girl, quite obvious, she will say cocktails more than whiskey. If it is a guy, he will say whiskey more than cocktails most of the time. Basically, you offer two choices leading to the same result. That is kind of a it is kind of a sales trick to get the person to sign the deal anyway, when you offer two different choices leading to the same result. Another one, do you prefer we watch a movie or do you like more listening to some music? Are you more a movie person or a music person? In both of those scenarios, you are going to get to my place to play a movie, to watch a movie, or to listen to some music. In any case, I can lead the conversation with two choices leading to the same outcome, which is what I want in my mind. You can always lead the conversation in that way so that you bypass all kinds of resistance. And as a reminder, if you want to summarize all of that and always know what to say, you have 5 of the best language patterns to create subconscious influence and create sensual attraction whenever you speak to her, whether you are into the first phase, the second phase, anywhere you are on that ladder of escalation, of attraction. You can use those language patterns to initiate more desire into her mind and bypass any kind of resistance more easily. That is down below. Thank you very much for watching. You can download this right away, and I will see you soon in the next video.